Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over the books that I want to or hope to read during the Dystopian Readathon. Let's get into the video. So if you missed it, don't worry, I'll go ahead and link the announcement video down below, but I am co-hosting a Dystopian Readathon with a couple of different booktubers and Instagrammers, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. This will be a week-long readathon starting May 29th, running through June the 4th, where we will read and connect over our love for dystopian books. So if it's something that sounds interesting to you, please go ahead and join. It's super chill, super low-key, and really, we would love for you to join us. In the description box, I'm going to link the channels of all of the co-hosts, including any announcement videos that they made or recommendation videos and their TBRs. That way, in case you are looking for recommendations, you will have a vast array of books to choose from. I will primarily be focusing on adult dystopian books. So with that, I do have 6 books that I want to talk to you about today. This doesn't mean that I will finish all 6 books during that week. This is my pile of possibilities for that week. I wanted to make sure that I had quite a diverse set of books in case my mood shifts throughout that week. And with the help of some friends, I feel like I have a really good pile of possibilities to choose from. By the way, I will be making a recommendations video of the dystopian books that I have already read, so stay tuned for that. When I was sitting down and thinking about the books that I wanted to put on my TBR, I made a list of like 20 books on my notes app, which is ridiculous. 20 books is ridiculous, but it made me realize how many dystopian books I own, first of all, that I haven't read, and how much I really wanted to read them. And for some reason, I just never did. So I did ask over on Instagram for your recommendations, and that's how I narrowed it down to the 6 books that we're going to talk about today. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm a really big fan of translated fiction and I love to read translated works. So there's no way that this book was not going to end up on my pile of possibilities. That is Blindness by Jose Saramago. This is translated from Portuguese by Giovanni Pontiero. I feel like at this point in time, this book is probably considered a modern classic, and I've heard wonderful things about it in general. So to give you an idea of what this is about, a city is hit by an epidemic of white blindness, which spares no one. Authorities confine the blind to an empty mental hospital, but there the criminal element holds everyone captive, stealing food rations and assaulting women. There is one eyewitness to this nightmare who guides 7 strangers, among them a boy with no mother, a girl with dark glasses, through the barren streets, and the procession becomes as uncanny as the surroundings are harrowing. That synopsis gives you just enough to keep you intrigued on what's going to happen, but not enough to really know what the book is about. So I'm excited. We'll see where this goes. Pile of possibilities. So the next book on this list is a classic, and that is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I know, I've never read this book. It's like the dystopian book, or one of the dystopian books. This was recommended to me by Ben, my fiance, and his brother Julian. They both have read it. They both like it. So it's definitely time for me to read this modern classic. I genuinely have no idea what Brave New World is about. I know it's a dystopian book, but I've never taken the time to read the synopsis, so we'll find out together. Brave New World is a darkly satiric vision of a utopian future where humans are genetically bred and pharmaceutically anesthetized to passively serve a ruling order. Again, very vague, don't really quite know what the plot is about, but hey, it's a classic for a reason, right? So excited to finally pick this up. Also, this has that new book smell. I love it. This next book was also recommended to me by Ben's brother, Julian. So I went ahead and added it to my TBR. I believe this is a sci-fi dystopian book, and it is part of a series. I've never read anything by this author, but this is Neuromancer by William Gibson. And this is a sci-fi classic, I believe, that I haven't read. I know of this book and of this series, I just never thought about picking it up, but let's learn about it together. Case was the sharpest data thief in the Matrix until he crossed the wrong people and they crippled his nervous system, banishing him from cyberspace. Now, a mysterious new employer has recruited him for a last chance run at an unthinkably powerful artificial intelligence. With a dead man riding shotgun and Molly, a mirror-eyed street samurai to watch his back, Case is ready for the adventure that upped the ante on an entire genre of fiction. Okay. This also has a new book smell. By the way, I didn't own Neuromancer or Brave New World, so I actually had to go out and purchase them for this Dystopian Readathon. So I didn't own them before this week. This one sounds like it's going to be very plot-driven, adventurous, and fun. So I think it'll be a good book to throw into the mix in case I start to feel slumpy from reading too many dystopian books. So that is Neuromancer. The next 3 books on this list are books that I've had for quite a while that I've been really excited to read, but for whatever reason, I just haven't plunged into them. The first one of those is going to be The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is actually the start to a trilogy. Yay. The reason that I haven't started this book is because I really want to finish all of the series that I'm currently in the middle of before starting any new ones. But I said to myself, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. You're gonna be fine. It's just one more series to start and it is completed, so I can go from book to book to book and finish it. So I actually don't know the plot to this series at all. I know that people either don't get it or that it's a masterpiece and that it is really well loved. So the synopsis tells us, this is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the Great Red Rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with the death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of earth is wielded as a weapon and where there is no mercy. That sounds really, really good. It's also the Hugo Award winner back in 2016 and can't freaking wait. The next book on this list is also the start of another series, but hear me out. This series sadly was never completed. I believe it was supposed to be a trilogy, but unfortunately only 2 books were published. That is going to be Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. Now, this is yet another book that I've had on my shelves for maybe like 3 years and I just haven't dived in. I wanted to start with Butler's other works and I did. I started Kindred and read that, and then eventually I really wanted to start Lilith's Brood and then dive into this one, but you know what? We're gonna scrap those plans. I'm not even going to pretend that I know what this book is about. Let's just read the synopsis. When global climate change and economic crisis leads to social chaos in the early 2020s, California becomes full of dangers, from pervasive water shortage to masses of vagabonds who will do anything to live to see another day. 15-year-old Lauren Olamina lives inside a gated community with her preacher father, family, and neighbors, sheltered from the surrounding anarchy. In a society where any vulnerability is a risk, she suffers from hyperempathy, a debilitating sensitivity to others' emotions. Precocious and clear-eyed, Lauren must make her voice heard in order to protect her loved ones from the imminent disasters her small community stubbornly ignores. But what begins as a fight for survival soon leads to something much more: the birth of a new faith and a startling vision of human destiny. God, I know this is going to be so good. One thing that I have heard about the Parable of the Sower and Parable of Talents, it's that it's scary how current it feels, but it was written back in 1993, so she apparently got a lot of things right, and I can't wait to finally dive into this one. The last and final book on my pile of possibilities is by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is Never Let Me Go. Kazuo Ishiguro is an author whose works I've been trying to read. I've read A Pale View of Hills and The Berry Giant, and I fell off from picking up his books for some reason. I probably got overwhelmed by books that I needed to read, if I'm being completely honest. But this readathon is a perfect excuse for me to dive back in. So I made an oopsies earlier and I accidentally grabbed The Remains of the Day. So now I can't quite remember which one is the dystopian book among these two. And maybe they both are, I'm not quite sure. But I think it's this one. I think this one is the dystopian book by him. So, as children, Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy were students at Hellsham, an exclusive boarding school secluded in the English countryside. It was a place of mercurial cliques and mysterious rules, and teachers were constantly reminding their charges of how special they were. Now, years later, Kathy is a young woman. Ruth and Tommy have re-entered her life, and for the first time, she is beginning to look back at their shared past and understand just what makes them so special, and how that will shape the rest of their time together. I think that vaguely sounds dystopian to me. It is blurbed by Margaret Atwood. So according to the internet, Never Let Me Go is the dystopian book, and potentially Clara and the Sun might also be a dystopian book. Okay, well, I'm not going to be reading that one. I don't own it. These are the 2 that I own. So those are the 6 books that I plan to read during the week of the Dystopian Readathon. I am currently reading one dystopian book. It's The Marrow, Thieves by Cherie Dimaline. I'm 7% into the book. And so far from what I can tell, it's set in Canada first and foremost. And in this time, people have lost the ability to dream. And the way that they're able to gain access to that is through the marrow of the Indigenous people of Canada. So they're hunted down and put into like schools to extract their marrow. And we're following this kid who lost his mother and his brother. And that's really all that I know about this book. I'm hoping to be able to finish it this week before my recommendations video goes out. If I end up loving it, you'll definitely be hearing more about it from me. My recommendations video will be out next. My recommendations video will probably focus on adult dystopian books that are within the sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and literary fiction genre. I have read young adult dystopian books, but it's just been so long since I've read them that I don't know if I can recommend them, or they are really popular dystopian books that you probably already read, like The Hunger Games, or that one series by Neil Shusterman. The Scythe series, is that what it's called? I've also read that, which again, it's really, really good, but I feel like they're more common recommendations. So I really wanted to focus on other categories for my recommendations video. So yes, that's coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you join. Let me know down below what you plan on reading if you're participating. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.